I'll just call this formally to order. I think all the members are here. The normal board member is not here, but we have a quorum. We have all 6 people present. Our tradition has been to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Do we want to do that, the latest version, before moving on?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Any seconds?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Yeah, Jerry, that's what I was saying. I think, and Judith, that there are big things that we all talked about, but I think it's the passion of the people on this board that
Right.
really had an interest and really want to know a little bit more behind it. It's not that we're trying to overturn it. It's just a lot of interest as we keep hearing the same thing, saying that this needs to be a year-long process. Interesting that there's a strategic plan. Didn't know that. That's I've been involved in a few of those at boarding schools. Great process. Hopefully it's a 10-year plan that you guys are working on. Anyway, so the minutes are approved, Jerry, moving forward. I think that's.
Well, if everybody approves them. I didn't hear John or Mike.
Aye. Sorry, because I noticed that John is here now.
Yep.
Aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Yep.
And Mike?
Aye.
Okay, so 6-0.
I know.
Judith, could you send me a copy of the, at least the first paragraph of what you said? Would that be okay to include in the minutes?
Certainly, yes.
I thought it was very nice, and but I'd like it to stay there.
Yeah, I was going to ask for that to be sent because it had all the specifics on the number of teachers, the number of administrative
Yeah, that was
staff,
good.
and all that. So it was all lumped into one spot. So it made it very nice and easy to have all the information on one page. Jerry, thank you.
That was a
That's
collaborative
awesome.
effort with Deb and I. Deb,
Good.
Judith, this is Mike. Would it be easier if all the committee members, any questions that they have, that they go to Tucker forwards them to you, one formal request? That's how we've done it in the past.
that's right. Deb.
So it's a better trail and it's easier for you. So any members that have any questions tonight, instead of firing a bunch of stuff to Judith, and you may do, have 3 questions you think of in the next 2 days, it just gets confusing. And I think we ought to compile them, get them to Tucker or Jerry, and they go formally to the administration, and it just keeps it a cleaner process. That's what we've done in the last couple of
Right.
years. Not to say it's right, but it seemed to work.
We could do that, yeah.
Sorry, that sounds great, Mike. And it seems like really Judith was grabbing all our stuff off the minutes, which was awesome. I was loving the way it was going. But yeah, please funnel it through me and I'll send it along. She did. She got right on top of it for tonight's thing.
Yeah, but-
Tonight we wanted to discuss. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're meeting tonight. Today's Thursday. If anybody comes up with any questions, put a deadline on it, Saturday or something like that. That's it. Have the questions to Tucker or tomorrow at 5, whatever. And then that's it until we get answers to them. We just can't keep firing stuff off to the administration. It just makes it messy. That's all I'm saying about it. And I think it would help all of us.
Yep.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I'm new to it. Yep.
I was going to say, how
Hello?
about Sunday night? Because here they are working 3 nights in a row at different meetings, and I'm sure they had full days with what's going on in the community, which is, a little somewhere between nervy and frightening right now. So it might be better if they don't even have to look at it until they come in on Monday morning. So, because they're too
Yeah,
conscientious.
that's fine. That's. Well, I wouldn't anticipate him to look at it till Monday morning and Monday afternoon to have it sent to us, but Sunday night's fine. I think that's great. If anybody has questions that come up. Okay, good. I think that's spectacular. So send me all the questions that you come up with as you're making notes tonight. Though I've I have enjoyed, Judy, you've been great answering all the questions kind of right here as we're working. So that's been working really, really well too. And then the information has been really interesting. Tonight we wanted to, I think with our discussion was to be about teacher-student costs. Again, gosh, Jerry, I keep missing putting it down on my notes. What was that one piece of information you called it? Something for.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
First I've spouted a few different numbers one time, which was not to suggest any particular course of action or anything else, but merely something that is part of our due diligence means something that we should look at. And that is that in one of the sheets that was provided with the first, I guess, data dump, is that there were 10 years ago, there were 349 students and 46 teachers. Now we have 286 and 42.5. So I've used a couple of different methods before, or calculations, just to get a ballpark of what that means. But if we had the same number of teachers per student, it would have gone from 46 down to 37.6, which basically is about 9 teachers. But we already have, it turns out, 3.5 less. So we're looking at about 5 extra teachers rather than 6.5. Doesn't mean we have too many teachers. It just says that's that just says why are we there? What should we look at? So and so that was one of the things. And so, in terms of digging into it, I think as part of diligence and our job, we should at least understand it, or and consider whether or not to make any changes, if indeed is to bring it down. There could be a lot of different factors that present it. But
I looked at the figures a little bit too, just for the heck of it. And I took that high school chart, and I couldn't seem to find an elementary or a middle school one in particular, but I folded the numbers a little bit just for my own sake.
Sure.
And from a couple points of view. One was that you need.
Debbie, can you enable the screen sharing? If you know how to do that, where it says screen share down at the bottom.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, yeah, I've never done this. Share screen, like to all panelists. Who you want to share?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I think you can do it if you do it for everybody. That's usually what.
Okay.
If it's all right, I'm going to just put up the chart that that Bonnie's talking to. So she
Yeah,
can-
I couldn't see. I found the high school one.
Well,
Did
I'll
we
put
have
up-
a?
I
Yeah.
created something for elementary. But
Okay. Oh, good.
I think they're so different. That is this the high school thing you're talking
That's high
about?
school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had the other one for elementary and middle school in the second packet.
Right.
Okay,
It's
a
pretty
chart.
simple because it is pretty simple. It's basically
Right.
2 teachers per grade level.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Okay.
must be why I just, for the heck of it, fooled around with this a little bit.
Sure.
And what I did, right or wrong, was total up, the 6 and the 4 and the 12 and all this business, to kind of look at how many students per se. And I mean, they might be the same student. They probably might be in 2 or 3 of these classes, but the chat starts pretty strong at the beginning of it. And I know it's the nature of the type of classes they're teaching, but in general, the first half of the chart, 41 is the low and 64 is the high. And as far as how many students' lives they touched, through their classes, how many, given the number of students in each class, And noteworthy, all the classes were 6 and 4 and 12, and the biggest class was 14, small classes. But those particular teachers, the first half of the chart, met the needs from anywhere from 41 to 40 to 64. Now, the other half of the chart, and I'm sure it's because of the type of classes they are, it went from a low of 10 students to, well, there was 132, which is, I don't know what, adapt, and I don't know what the health and adapt. It went from, no, 35, there's a 35. In other words, fewer students. And I just, and empty schedules. I mean, quite a few, some spots in the day where nobody was served. So I just noted that. Which and I don't know whether with the teachers we've got, that kind of indicated to me that maybe 1, 2, 3 teachers less might get us the coverage we need if we have the teachers that have the right skills. And that's all I did with that chart, was to note that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 teachers that impact a small number of students, for whatever it's worth. I just noted that. And I just noted, and I don't know what, do you know, Jerry, what a statewide average is? How many students you would impact, a typical teacher on the high school level, how many? And I'm sure we're on the low side because we have classes of 10, 5, and 15, and that's the problem right there in a nutshell.
I mean, there's eight boxes with the number 2 in it.
Yeah.
And as you said, a lot of planning.
Yep.
And the counter to that, is that one of the documents I think that the superintendent provided for us talks about required subjects and unit of credits, and you have to have a certain qualification to be able to teach some of these things. Now,
right.
I think period 1 and period 5, it looks like they also teach middle school, and period 6, and then there's some elementary school in the
Yeah, those are your K-12 specials teachers. So when it says, when you said someone only taught 10 students, and I can see which one you're talking about, when it says elementary, that's the elementary special. So they teach all the elementary grades during that. On Monday they teach first grade, on Tuesday they teach second, on Wednesday they teach third, and so on. So
what is this?
Those aren't zero.
What is that subject, by the way?
That's the librarian.
Okay.
So manages the library, but also has classes of students.
Marho teaches music at 3 elementary things during the day.
Yeah, so she has different grade levels. Yes, correct. She has different classes of elementary students that she sees during the day. Because those are their specials.
So, and seeing a chart like this is just so foreign to me, but because, my daughter had 24 people in her kindergarten class. At the high school level, if there was any specialized class, if it got to below 15, they'd cancel it. Now it was a bigger school than this. And, we looking at, so I'm trying to understand whether this is all necessary and to make a recommendation to support this, or whether there's some efficiency that we can do and still meet all the needs of the kids that we're both required to do and that they need. So I looked at page 40 of the first packet that we got, which has table 306.1, required subjects and units of credit for high school graduation. And Um, um, do you think this is the right kind of a document maybe to use as a reference on this so that we can have comfort going to the community and recommending this, or is this the right thing to be thinking about? What's your thought? My question would be, what is your thought on that? And then whether anybody else has any opinions on this. So, because there's a lot of money in each one of these teachers, a lot more than, a
Yep.
ball field fence, for example.
So what is it that you're trying to get for information, Jerry? I don't,
Well,
you're trying to determine what type of, where you could take some staff out. I get that. And where would be the less impact or which staff could go due to certifications?
exactly said, well, if you take out the person, and obviously it wouldn't be up to us to make the shifts, but
Right.
you need somebody with a physical sciences credentialing, I guess, in the
Right.
US and New Hampshire history and economics. All those things are in your required subjects.
Mhm.
And I assume you need some kind of certification to do that, right?
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah, I think I've got a fair example for this. One of the things that we'd be looking at is you have a teacher by the name of Bar, B-A-H-R, that teaches French 1, French 3, French 5, and you have 12 students total in that. And then you have a Spanish teacher by the name of Whedon teaching 23 kids. You got 23 kids taking Spanish, you got 12 kids taking French. The question being, what does the state require for a language in the school? Because when I went to school, it was the only language offered ever was just French. So is there a requirement to offer 2 different languages? And if not, what's the return value of the 12? What's it costing us to do the 12? There's got to be a cost benefit analysis done on some of these things. So that's an example of what we'd be interested in seeing in terms of what's being offered versus what has to be offered. Anyone?
Well, they do offer the 2 different languages because some of the colleges require 2 languages. So in order to keep the door open for students, the district has gone into 2 languages. I know at one time they only had 1. That was years and years ago. But now they have the Spanish and the French.
I personally have 4 master's degree,
Judy,
an
do they require
MBA, a bachelor's degree, and I never took a language in school. Though I can speak other languages that I picked up on my own, but it was never a college requirement for me. So,
Judy, are they requiring 2 languages or 2 years of a language?
No. I would say you can have, some colleges require 2 languages, not 4 years worth. Maybe first 2 years, you have 2 years of one language and 2 years of another. But not all colleges require that. I'm just saying, I believe that's why the district went to 2 languages versus 1.
well, isn't that English plus one
'Cause,
other language?
Foreign language.
Probably.
Correct. When I worked in a college counseling office, it was 2 years of your non-native speaking language.
Mhm.
And when I've done this, the hard part when we start to lose people, and I'm not, whatever we do, we've always had to change the schedule. Or you lose a language, you lose a teacher. One of the things that always is scary is, I think, is that you lose some of the upper end. Because if you look at A and P, that's 2 people. So when, as an administrator, when you start looking to cut, and I hate to lose those upper ends, so it's very difficult. This is difficult to look at.
It's
Because
hard.
again,
Yeah.
as you do this, it's comfortable with the schedule we have, that you've had forever at the school. And to reduce it, you really have to, all of a sudden, I don't know if you have a new schedule. One school I was at, we had a new schedule every 4 years because we always were reducing and trying to make it work. We did. We always made it work. And one year we lost the language. We went from, we lost French because nobody was taking it. Very similar to Jerry, to what you said, is we had three students that wanted to continue in French, and we dropped it. Of course, Mandarin picked up. But anyways, that was a private school, so it's a different world. So those are just some of my insight, is that this, I get it. I think we have to look at it. It's difficult. It is a small school, so you're going to have small classes. So anyway, I don't know. It's just my quick 2 cents.
No,
Yeah, it's just for me, the large classes look like small classes.
Yeah, they are.
And
A lot of the
to
large
see
classes
a
is
number
difficult.
with a 5 or a 2 or a 3 or even a 7 to me is was quite shocking. And you know, that's probably for me to deal with, but because that's where we are. I do think when you get down to 2 or 3, that's when you can start making other arrangements. Sending somebody to Plymouth State if they're advanced, or some other option. And I know there's other creative things that can be done in the longer run. At some point, given what's going on at the state, it's likely it's likely we'll have to make a change at some point. So we might want to be starting to think about it, even if it's not this year. So.
Could somebody tell me what MS stands for?
Middle school,
Oh, okay.
middle school specials.
And
Yep.
SH, I presume, is study hall?
Study hall.
Those always have big numbers.
Is there any chance, and I know I've mentioned this for years, is there any chance of having like 2 classes in one class? Like if you want French 1, 2, and 3, you've got 4 years for a student to take it. I mean, can you have only offer, say, 2 of the 3 every year, cut back a few, a little bit in staffing by only offering biology every other year, or physics or something? I know it's a scheduling nightmare for the students to get all those requirements in, but is that even feasible, so that you don't have a class with 2 and a class with 5, you have a class of 7. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
yep, no. Those are some thoughts that we've had as well with the languages. We've done that in the past. If we had French 3 and French 4, and we had 1 student in French 4, we put that French 4 person into French 3, or whatever within that.
Right.
Like that. Yeah, we can certainly look into that too.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things, and I don't know what they call home ec now, but anyway, that class, it probably shouldn't matter whether you've got freshman and sophomore in the same class. And I don't know, what do they call home ec nowadays?
Family consumer science.
Okay. FCS. Where is FCS?
How's that for a fancy name?
I don't think they offer that anymore.
They don't even offer it. Well, anyway, a class like that, it shouldn't matter much if there's a different ages in there. Some of them, it really shouldn't matter. I know the math is progressive. You've got to take this one before that, algebra 1 before 2, or whatever. But
Along with your thoughts there, Bonnie, one of the things that's very interesting in terms of the languages when you have like French 1, 2, and 3 is if you have a small number of students, such as is shown on this, if you put them all in the same classroom at the same time, the older ones are the ones that have been there that are in 3, can actually be trying to speak with the ones in one and help them progress a little bit faster. But that's a teaching methodology that's got to be determined by,
Yeah.
Judith and her staff, whether or not they want to do that type of thing.
Um,
But if it opened up hours for that same teacher that might be able to do an economics,
Right.
a home economics type,
Exactly.
wouldn't that be wonderful?
Exactly. And I think I saw in the chart, oh, yes, I did. There's, okay, why in the world is fourth period, we have 11 in chemistry, and a fifth period, we have 12 in chemistry? Why do we have two chemistries in the same year? And you put those two together and you got 23 kids. And I know that's a lot. You got the labs and it's pretty hands-on and intense, but you probably could do it with the 23. I'm seeing things like that. Why do we need to run two sections of chemistry?
Yeah. Now, remember, our job is to look at it and see what we don't think is necessarily appropriate. How they determine how to do,
Right.
their classes and their programs is their thing. So for us, that would just be a question. Hey, is this a possibility that you guys have considered?
Right. We have,
So that we on our side can say, okay, we can support that. We can justify those
Right.
budget dollars.
Well, for me, if the thing is, let's say we put off 24 chemistry kids in one class, then what does that teacher do the rest of the day? What are they qualified to teach? Then are they going to teach 24
That's
kids?
why I like the economics class.
24 kids in English?
Well,
Or can you?
the hard part, guys,
They may
is that
not be qualified to do too many. So you
The-
might as well have smaller classes.
some of the hard part on that too is that not everybody takes chemistry at the same time, and there are people who are taking different math classes. You might have someone in chemistry who's taking algebra 2, and you have someone in chemistry who's taking calculus. So there's a lot of scheduling there. That's difficult, and I'm not saying that it's not feasible, because anything's feasible if you really sit down and get after it. But those are, I would assume those are the reasons it's split, is because of other kids' schedules. I know that, the state has requirements, but they don't say when you have to take them.
Right.
Most kids take physical science their freshman year, but it doesn't always happen that way. And that's the difficult part. I'm assuming why it is what it is. From again, my experience and doing, this is kind of where I've stuck a lot, and it's really hard. So I'm just kind of adding to that and
I
help
appreciate
you,
it.
I guess.
yeah, and we will have-
Tucker, are you seeing the table 306-1? Did I share that correctly?
Yes,
So-
yeah, you got it up there. It's great.
So I mean, I don't know if this is the way that the budget committee should be thinking, but I'm saying if you overlay this on what's the minimum footprint of teachers that we can have in order to be able to fulfill this, then that's probably what we should support. And at one level, we can do it with all our own teachers. If we really get something that's small in the electives, maybe there's more creative things to do, but not in 2 weeks. So, I mean, my questions for administration would be to ask if that's where we are on this, or whether we could fulfill this proficiency requirement and include, I guess this is the kind of interpretation of what's needed to follow that RSA that I sent the link for earlier. And
This would be your minimum education requirement, right? That everybody must get to get out. And that's, I think, to me, and again, now I feel like I'm on the other end, but that's fine. I don't want to shoot for the minimum, I want to shoot for above average. I want the kids to have other opportunities, and I'm thinking of the bottom end and the upper end, because there's, this right here, I love it. It's the absolute minimum, but there are no upper end classes on there. If you say, hey, mathematics, you have to have algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry. They already got your 3 units done and you haven't even, you've not offered anything to the upper level kids.
Oh, you
I'm
got
just kind of,
6.5 units of, electives.
yep, I understand that. The staff has to do that. You have to get them proficient at it. And that's where the administration has to step in. Where we say, we as a group, whether or not we decide, I don't know if we cut or what our decision here is, but that's what they're going to have to go down and do. So, but I understand what you're saying, Jerry. This is a great place to start, that we have to have, 2 mathematics teachers, 3 English teachers, because you have to have so many courses. So,
Yeah, and see, I don't think we necessarily have to have 2 mathematics teachers in high school. Because 3 units, I think that means over 4 years. So that's 60 students a year, I think. If you
Oh,
have-
I'm gonna hate to say this, but,
Assuming one teacher can teach all those classes, which I can't guarantee. I'm not qualified to say. So,
yeah, I'm only gonna throw in this one caveat because of staffing situations I've run into over my lifetime. To have 2 people qualified for a job is far better than 1, because if you lose that one, you are shut down.
and I just grab mathematics because it is the hardest one to find right now. Math and sciences are your hardest to find people. And to get to the upper level is even more difficult. Now, I'm all for funding people to go and get qualified to teach the upper ones.
Yeah,
I'm all for that. Bringing people in who are looking to improve and want to keep that open, increase the open electives and increase it on both ends. So, because open electives can be mathematics. I'm just grabbed that off the top of my head. So,
is chemistry an open elective? Is that the?
must be.
I believe it is. I think it always.
it is. I mean,
Chemistry and
Yep.
physics, I think both fit in that category.
yeah, physics is also open elective.
Correct.
Usually, and that's what I've run into. Like I said, the bare minimum is usually a physical. There it is right there, physical and a biological.
And sometimes you can hire teachers that they might have a major in English and a minor in history or something. Quite often, the people that you hire have a second talent that can be utilized somewhere. And almost always, they have a second, and sometimes have to take a job in their minor because if they have a major in math and there's an overload of math teachers, well, then you're now studying and now you're now teaching, your alternative.
Mhm. A lot of the teachers are getting right down that area, Bonnie. A lot of the teachers are getting double certified.
Yeah.
For that reason. And
Yep.
the other thing to remember is that the Lin-Wood High School or the school district requires 26 credits. This is a 21 credit schedule. So in order to graduate from Lin-Wood, you have to have 26.
Are those just extra open electives, or are there specific classes that you need to take
It could be,
on this list?
yeah, it could be that they have to, well, the 3, and then the science maybe, and I'm not really sure. I don't want to say for sure what they are. I can get the breakdown of what it is. But yeah, there's 26 credits for that. That would be a good idea. I can get you that copy.
Yeah, that's a great, and that's great to know. That is good to know that. To me, I like that you push the kids beyond the minimum, right? So that's great.
Right.
Is that a school board decision, or how does that come about?
That's the school board decision, yeah. And that was put in years ago, before my time.
You'd think I would know that. I just had someone graduate, but I done.
Yeah. And are those extra 5 sort of elective things? I mean, it would be interesting to know what the extra 5 units are that the school board felt had value, what are they? And how tough is it to
Yeah,
fill?
I can get that. I can get that.
Yeah, and a lot of schools, Bonnie, actually require a third science.
Yeah.
And a little bit more than 1.5 histories.
Right, exactly.
So there's usually stuff like that where they add to the science and the history.
Yeah.
And again, it usually is to benefit the student towards college.
Yeah.
Because there are these minimums at a graduate high school. The college requirements are a lot. I don't want to say a lot bigger than this, but there are more requirements for college than this right here. The colleges expect a little bit more than this.
Mhm.
So I would say if we want to preserve, did I lose connection?
No,
Nope.
Yeah, you're good, Jerry. I mean, we still see your screen.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I got one of those circles and everything. I wasn't even sure I was still on the call. One of the clear things for me is that, more than say, city like Manchester, we can make good use of people with multiple certifications. And they may cost more, but the school will spend less if we have people like that, because they'll still have very small sub 15 person classrooms and be able to teach both of their areas of certification. Whereas if you're in Manchester, you're going to have 20, 25 kids in your class and you'd be able to teach chemistry all day. So, that doesn't affect just this budget, or may not affect this budget, but it's just my observation.
Yeah.
Thinking about what kind of teaching talent to bring in, or even nurture the interests of the people that we do have in that direction. So the goal would have to be, though, to have fewer teachers over time, and then have the ones that we have teach more kids than they do now.
one of the modifications we made was that, for example, when you looked at the other chart, you had a French teacher who was had 0 in ESOL, and right now she has 3. So those 3 students are K through 12. They're all in different grades. So when she meets with those students, their individual sessions of so many hours per day that she meets with them. And because she gets double certified, she went and certified for, she's certified in her foreign language, but she's also being certified in ESOL so that she can do 2 things.
Yeah.
Because last year we did have to hire a contractor, an ESOL person, to come in for halftime because there weren't any students. At one time you had 10 students, which is a full-time load for ESOL, and you did have a full-time person, but then those numbers went down. So it goes up and down every year. You just never know, depending on the families that move in.
So we're all looking at this as a cost per student, and I'm gonna kind of go on a different tack that I'm curious about, and maybe you can answer it, Judith, maybe you can't. I'm curious on the teachers' raises, why everybody was exactly the same. Is there methodology behind that, or where I've been, it's always been a % increase, and I didn't know if like a cost of living or something like that. I know there are steps with the state,
Right.
but I didn't know if that was a different avenue.
This particular association has always done that. They've always taken the same amount of increase for every teacher. And that's the way they negotiated, and it's been that way for years. So yeah, you could do it. I've seen it the same as you. I've always seen percentages. But this particular group does it the other way and feels as though every teacher should get the same amount increase. So that's the way they do it.
Because I'm looking at it quick, it looks like a cost of living raise could percentage could save more money than just one flat fee. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there from some of the numbers I played with. I don't know if anybody else noticed that or.
I did. I saw
Again-
I saw the 2,300 per teacher, I think it was, pay raise. And it was on a sheet not too long after they had all the steps and all those functions. So, you know, a lot of times I think people earlier on in their career may deserve a higher percentage increase than
Yeah.
somebody later on in their career. Because really, you know, after you've been there 10 or 15 years, are you really getting that much better? Whereas somebody with 3 years of experience is probably way more valuable to us than somebody with one.
Well,
But
how about the one that's been there 10 years and isn't good?
Well, yeah,
Let's not
yeah,
pretend that
yeah.
that doesn't happen. We've all been to school ourselves.
and I think it's you know, the organization or the union that represents the teachers. This is the way that they found they
Yeah.
support and work with each other the best. And you know, I'm that, you know, what makes them happy, you know, is pretty good for me. So, you know, however they want to do it, but I would support plenty of other different structures, every bit as much as this one.
That's fine. I was just curious. I like I said, the percentage are everywhere from 6.8 to I forget 3.2 or something. And then there was one that had a different percentage. I mean, a different raise, which I thought was weird, and one with no raise. But that could be just two with no raises. But that could be something different. Maybe they're part-time. I was just curious why it happened.
They left. Those people had left.
Okay. Oh, I got you.
So we're just compare, not only are you showing a person each step each year, but it was also the total, who was here last year and then someone replaced them.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Just
Yeah, no, they don't, they do everything pretty much even across the board as far as the dollars. And yes, you're right, it comes to a different percentage, but in total, they're all getting the same dollar.
So Judy, you know, is there any consolidation, do you think, that could be done with the staff that you have and meet the requirements that you're being asked to fulfill?
The administration just talked about that the other day, and we are going to sit down and meet on that. I mean, we haven't talked about it, but there are some ideas that are out there with administration. So we will be talking about that.
is that for this year or going forward, or for the years beyond?
Well, it won't be for this year, but
Right.
we'll be looking for next year.
You mean the 21, 22,
Correct.
22 year, which is what this budget is for, right?
Correct.
So if you're able to do that and we have the regular budget, then, you know, the money can still go in the coffers for future years. Is that right?
No,
What happens?
no.
We return it to what? The taxpayers?
You can keep only so much and you'd return more to the towns.
Correct.
You return it to the town so that they can collect less money the next year. Isn't that how they do it?
Well, unless I interpreted this wrong, this is something that Judith is saying that they're going to look at, but it doesn't prevent us from making a determination of what we think the amount of money for the overall number of teachers is going to be.
Well,
suggested.
yeah, we're not going to, we don't really tell them
No,
that, you know, I don't even want to say any particular program, but no, we don't need any
No, we don't tell them
language
programs.
teachers
No.
because
How many
we
teachers?
just come up with a budget number. This
but
is-
if we know they're already looking at that, if we know they're already looking at that, we know that they're going to need less money, that less money would do it. If they're going in that direction for the 21, 22 year, then that's going to be a savings. And I mean, I suppose we could guess how much savings, or they could give us a rough idea of what their goal for savings by going that route. is. I mean, either we can guess or they can give us a rough idea as to how much they intend to consolidate, you know. There could be a savings there. If it's going to take effect, a lesser budget would be sufficient.
And, it may depend on who retires or who gets a job in another district or needs to take a year off for some reason that may open things up differently. But you're right. They may say, look, I think you're pretty safe taking X number of dollars out of the budget.
Right.
We just don't know where it's going to come from.
Right. And we can't tell them where it would come from anyway. We would just be giving them less money that may even help their effort to reduce. And you never know when somebody's going to retire. Somebody that's been there forever, and boy, that's all. That always is a killer. That first year, what you owe them, and sometimes you get that $50,000 surprise or something, but you can't really know that or predict.
Mhm.
I would like to support the effort to consolidate a bit and come up with some reasonable, not unreasonable number to indicate that that's the direction we're headed in streamlining. I don't know what that number would be that I would, and you'd almost have to go down through there and take an average of what an average teacher costs you, not only the salary, but the benefits and all the other stuff that adds up. And so it's more than the salary. Each employee costs you more than that, and all the benefits and everything else involved. And I don't know what to suggest.
Or do you have a ballpark number, or you rather wait till next meeting on either what percentage or add $1 per teacher? We should, if an average teacher, average salary for a teacher is $55,000, and how much does that end up being in the budget for just that line item?
Yeah, I'd have to sit and figure that out, so I wouldn't do it tonight.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'm writing that down so I can.
Write it down and just give us a rough idea.
You can kind of piece it from the budget, but it's hard.
You can kind of know it's 28% for maybe their benefit, 30% for the benefit package, then their health insurance. I bet it almost doubles it, the 55,000.
Yeah, it's about 60%. It's probably about 60% when you have New Hampshire retirement, health insurance, all of that.
Yeah, it's gotta be about 60% on top of the 55,000 or whatever.
It's a little less than I thought it was, but that's about, I mean, it's a significant number.
Yeah.
You're right, Bonnie.
Does the school get any value out of the student teacher program that they support out of Plymouth State? Or does that solely benefit the person coming here to do their required time?
We don't get any kickback on that. Is that what you're asking?
No, not dollars, but I mean in what they do. And how many of them do you get in a year, and what do you utilize them for? And is that a burden on the community, or is that a good thing for the students? How does that program work for you?
It works well when we have student teachers in the building. Yes, we do. It does work well. Right now we have a student teacher in the high school guidance department. I don't know if we have any I don't think we have any in the elementary, middle school, or high school content area classes, but we do have the one coming in, and I think it's only because of the situation. But yeah, we usually have sometimes about 3 a year, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of high. 1 to 2 probably.
1 to 2. Okay.
Yeah.
1 to 2.
Sometimes the teachers will say they're a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Might be great, but it takes up our time to supervise and train and mentor them and so forth.
It's like having one more student, huh?
Yeah.
So Tucker, is that sufficient for that topic or?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just sitting here going, I don't know what we can do or what our authority is. I think it's something that, we should duly note that there's interest in looking into that number, whether it's future, because I don't think, again, in 2 weeks, there's a lot we can do. I'm curious in everybody's thoughts on that. But again,
I think we can do it. I think we can do it.
what do you want to do, Bonnie?
I think we can. I think let's just say each teacher costs us, well, it's going to be 100,000 give or take. So 300,000 less for salaries for teachers. That's 3. I mean, and I think that's reasonable. That's not
At the high school level?
yeah, 3 overall, or, I mean, maybe we may just say 3. I mean, you've said 6.5. Well, maybe we say 4. Maybe we say 4, maybe we say 5, maybe we say 3. But I think we can come up with a number, assuming roughly 100,000. That, I mean, 300,000, if that's 3 on almost $9 million is not a lot of money.
Well, I mean, I think, I'm not sure we'd be able to go that far because, I'd want to hear from the administration that they thought it was highly likely they would be able to work this out. And this is like a calculus problem at the high school level, because it's not just a matter of the right number of body counts, but body counts with the right expertise.
Oh, yeah, no. And maybe you
So-
make it 3 or 4 for all the grades from K to 12. I'm not saying that
Well,
that has to come all in the high school. I mean, it could be anywhere you can find an efficiency. And I would say certainly on the elementary level, I think there's many cases that we could consolidate to 1 class, not 2 per grade. There's 1 class is bigger, but I really don't see why we can't, why we have to run 2 second grades, 2 fifth grades, 2 of everything. The numbers of children we have just doesn't justify.
Tucker, would it be okay to move over to elementary, or does anybody have?
I mean, I think that's great. And again, we have to back everything of our decisions. So I want to make sure that we do due diligence to back the numbers that I know that you're just throwing stuff out right now, Bonnie, just saying stuff, but
Yeah.
that's where we have to really do our due diligence. And that's where, again, we have to get some more information, I think, and start looking at it. But I would say, yeah, if we want to move over to elementary, I think that was a great segue.
Okay, I did create a little chart.
Well, just one clear point is we have to fully understand the have tos versus would like tos.
Yes.
Because, I mean, for example, there was a time when there were no summer programs at all. The kid didn't do well, he stayed back and he repeated the year. Now, I don't know if these programs that we do in the summer are have tos or want tos. We've got to pin that down.
Yeah. Needs versus wants. That you might have in your own personal budget. So these are but these are times 2, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just created a
Yep.
chart, a flow chart based on Debbie's
Good.
information Debbie provided. I guess these people, the elementary school, all reports to the assistant principal. I think you call him or the elementary school. Is that correct, Judith? And
Yeah, these are all under the assistant principal. Is that what you're saying? In the
yeah.
elementary? Yeah.
So on the left side is basically the classrooms. The first number 2 is the number of teachers. and then it's like a dash, and that's the number of students. In addition, the elementary school of children are supported by largely the special ed program. I think we were told has 4 full-time staff, and that's 47 students. And they're almost all elementary school students, I think is what I heard at the previous meeting. The Partners program has 7 additional children. It has no staff, but it has a significant budget. And those are currently all elementary school programs. And then there's the arts and other things. The elementary school students are supported by some of the teachers that we saw in the high school grid. And so, you know, my thought is these are the personnel. You can also hang off the things like the occupational therapy and whatever special programs which don't have staff but have pretty significant budgets. And this is kind of give you, you know, you could blow this into a whole budget for what we spend on K through 5.
Are there any kids in this group that have the full-time person that walks around with them all day? And are they included in the numbers that we're looking at?
I have trouble hearing that, Robert.
I'm sorry. Are there any kids in this group, we're talking 5th grade down, that have that situation where they have a full-time person that spends the entire day with them while they're in school? And is it included in the numbers that we see for like special ed students? I'm guessing not. Either we don't have them or the numbers aren't included.
I bet they're under the special ed 47 students. Are those the ones that have the para and the teacher?
Well, I thought those were caseworkers, and so.
Well, in the elementary, you have 2 special ed teachers at the elementary. You have 1 in the middle school and 1 at the high school. Those are teachers. Those are
Okay.
teachers. So.
And those are different than the caseworkers.
They're the same.
They're the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be 2 staff instead of 4.
Correct.
Yeah.
The 47 students in the special ed, they are also in the other numbers on the left, or no? Are they included in the classrooms with
Yes.
their parents?
Yes.
And how about the 7 partners program children? Are they also included in the left?
When we gave you the special ed numbers the other day, we said there was a total of 54 and 7 of those are in the
Partners
program. So those remaining 40, and I mean, they're in the regular classroom too. They're in both. And the remaining 47, I don't know the exact breakdown. I mean, I think a lot of them are at the elementary school, but there are some of those 47 are at the middle and high school.
Right.
And therefore, that's why we have caseworkers and special ed teachers.
But these 54 are also counted over on the other side?
Correct. We were
Yeah.
just breaking out the number of students with IEPs.
So if you did a simple breakdown, there's 9 kids allocated to 13 teachers.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12,
14 teachers.
13, 14.
And 14 teachers, 103 students.
14 teachers, yeah, 103. Then you've got the mentors helping out with the special ed ones.
7.35 teachers or students per teacher. That's very generous. So how do this group of students rank, you know, across the state for, I mean, that's a really generous allotment of teachers. So I would presume that they are all doing pretty well. But I'd like to see something that says that.
Judith, it looks like you're talking, but you're muted.
Geez, I forget what I was saying. It was sounded pretty good, but I guess. Okay, so the 4 special ed teachers, don't count them in your full count because that's supplemental. Those are supplemental teachers, so that's
Right,
not,
we only counted 2 of them.
right, but they're not, they don't have an even split with all of the students. You see what I mean?
Yeah, we're just saying average.
Okay,
I said they don't actually have classrooms, right? They're special eds.
correct.
Right. So they're not classrooms. They're pulling kids out at different times, or
Right.
working with them. So you could actually take those 2 teachers off.
Right.
In which case it'd be 125 students divided by 12.
Correct.
And which is about 10.
10, yeah.
And even though I'm not sure how much the 7 in the partners program are interacting in the classroom, but it's still about 10 either way.
Mhm.
So can we have just one first grade, one second grade, one, can we? Is it feasible? Is it going to be a decent enough educational experience to only run one grade of each?
I guess to change that question is, what's the rationale to have 2 for each class?
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna come in on a side that people probably might not expect. If we're seeing that these kids are doing really well, and I mean, in the top, 20% of the state, with their learning and whatnot, and to avoid, the possibility of losing one, if we had one first grade teacher and that person, slips on the ice and is out for a month, and trying to replace them, everything can be incredibly difficult. We have that current latitude for the teacher to take on everybody for a while. I'm all for it, but show me that they're getting that level of education. Now, if I recall, it wasn't that long ago that you had the woman that the principal for that school that moved down to, I think, Waterville.
Yes, Gail.
Wasn't she like one of the top 100 elementary schools in the country there or something at one time? I mean, she got invited down to DC because of that, to meet the president and all that kind of thing. Is this before everybody's time?
No,
No,
I know
they did.
Gail.
They did have that
Gail.
at Waterville. I don't know if that was during her tenure or right before she got there.
Right.
I think it was before she got there.
It
I think
happened right before she got there.
It was
Yeah.
right. It was 1 or 2 years before she took over.
Yep.
And they had an 8th grade of 3 students, and they were exceptional. And again, that is a school that I know is working with 6th, 7th, and 8th in one classroom. Not that we want to do that, but I'm just saying that does exist out there. But again, they have a 8th grade of 3 students, so they kind of have to.
Yeah, but their cost per pupil is $45,000.
Right.
Understandably with that too, but that's what I'm saying. I would support, this number, with the right level of results,
That's a great point.
because I believe when Gail was at Lin-Wood, she ended up having that level of rating and got some kind of award for best 100 or something. And it was, noteworthy. So that's all I'm asking is, okay, I see it, just how are we doing with it? What are the results? What are the kids ranking at? Where are they testing out at?
So
I'm kind of sorry.
Robert-
I'm sorry Joe's not here because I'm kind of interested in what the board perspective is and why we're at this level.
Because it is a steep level.
Because you could, you're below, in any one of these classes, you're below what the state says is, you're not to exceed. It doesn't mean we
Right.
want to be there, but, unlike the high school, which was a calculus problem, this one isn't as tough.
Right.
because I think both first grade teachers are qualified to teach first grade to double the number of kids. And I would ask if Judith, if you feel like they couldn't fulfill the requirements that we have where they're short, in helping our thinking about what we would recommend for a budget.
I can tell
Rob?
you this, that your teachers, am I muted? Okay. The teachers in K through 2, okay, yeah, K through 2 are, some of them are early childhood certification. So they could only teach up to grade 2 or 3. And grades 3 to 5 is a certification of K through 6.
Mhm.
So you're not looking at a certification situation in the elementary as much as you are in the middle high school.
Mhm.
Now, to answer your question, as far as could we do that, in any scenario you're asking, the budget that we proposed is what we think is obviously what we think is the best budget. We always look year to year to see, the different areas and depending on the number of students, how we could, rearrange things so that there wouldn't be as many positions needed. And what we're presenting is what we're proposing.
What is the philosophy behind having the small classrooms? I mean, I know, don't get me wrong, I understand that, people pay large numbers of dollars to boarding schools so they can have their kids in these type of classes. But I'm just curious, the rationale or the philosophy of having 2 at each level.
I think it is just based on the fact that as they've gone down, there have been years where we've combined classrooms and we've had, instead of having like in grades 3 and 4, having 4 teachers, we would have 3 teachers and work out a different scenario. It wasn't, a teacher per classroom. It was, shared teaching and whatever. I think the philosophy is the numbers are what they are, and they are willing to keep 2 teachers in each grade level for the size of the classroom.
I'm wondering, I mean, this might sound, I don't know if it's justified or would work, but say you went from, let me see, you've got 6 classes, that's 12 teachers. What if you cut it back a bit? If you could get people that were dual certified and could do 3rd and 1st as needed or whatever, but instead of 12 teachers, perhaps we could have 6 plus 3 more that have flexibility to cover as needed, to help out. I mean, no question. No question. I have 2 sons, and they were 2 different type classes that my 2 sons went to. That a different makeup of kids. It just ends up being a fluke that you'll have a class that is easier than another class, a different makeup of students that are coming up through. Well, if you end up with a 2nd grade that ends up being a horror show, well, then you could have 2 sections of it if it just isn't working with 22 kids. And I don't know how you do that, but I don't know for sure how you do that, but maybe I'm talking out loud that, well, maybe we can justify 9 financially and ratios and every other which way. Maybe we can justify 9 elementary school teachers with a bit of flexibility, and they may be able to teach the art program, or they may be able to teach something else that we got here. but maybe the goal is to go from 12 to 9. And
Well,
then,
if you want to look at it, you know, hard brass tacks on this, other people's money is always easy to spend. If you look at the state requirements, you could literally cut one teacher
right,
out of every grade, and unless somebody's going to show that having 2 is ranking those kids higher in the state, then 1 is the way to go.
So show us.
I mean, they
Oh,
test
yeah,
all
I mean,
the
the-
time. How are they doing? We've got 5th grade showing there, and we know how big the class looks like it's going to be. You ever take 1 or 2 kids that move in or out every year, what is expected? So 22 is not a huge
No.
class size. So show us the value of it. Just show us how these kids are doing.
You know, I don't know where the community and the taxpayers will come out on both sides, but I think the children that go to our schools tend to stay in our school system. I think there's less turnover than many school systems in the state. So, you know, if we can make an appropriate investment in them early on, deal with any problems they have, and really put them on a good road, and by 6th grade, then that may be worth a bigger investment than we have with this with going to normal class size, which would only require 1 teacher per grade. So
Well, I agree with you,
I-
Gary.
And that's why I'm asking, show us how they're doing.
yeah, and I'm
You
not
throw a lot of
qualified.
teachers and get nothing done. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that they're doing well. But I need
So-
to show 'em.
I need the
So
documentation.
Judy,
They're the nicest kids in the state. I know that.
yeah,
are there some, I know there are some state testing. So I guess, can we see some state testing or nation testing? I can't think of the tests off the top of my head that they're taking.
We have it in any of these. Math grades 3 to 8%, of 3 S's and 4 levels. That's some of the stuff that I don't know how to read these things, but. you know,
I don't know how to, I looked at those charts and I don't know what's the maximum number you can get in each one of those categories. I didn't know how to read it because I don't know the range of what these numbers, what's high and low for these numbers in those boxes.
What we will be doing at the next school board meeting is we are getting the latest assessments, and we will be reporting on those at the January, the 2nd meeting in January.
Yes, I looked at these, but I couldn't read them. You know, it's like 45th percentile. We seem to hover this particular chart. We range from 45.5 percentile to 66.7 percentile. Is that good or bad? I don't know. Is that out of 100? If it's out of 100, we're running about 50%.
And then
Yeah.
the question is 50% considered average?
I don't know.
Yes,
I mean,
50,
see, that's
50%.
the thing.
I don't want to jump to conclusions. I need somebody to break it out, show it to us and say, hey, here's the report. This is what it is. Because
It's too easy for us to misinterpret some of these things.
Right,
So
right.
we need
your expertise in it, showing this to us.
Right, in that particular report, 50%, excuse me, 50% is average. 50th percentile is average. So, but there is a new set of assessments. Like I said, there is a new set of assessments coming out, and that will be looked at the last week in January, that board meeting on Wednesday night. We will be looking at that, and that will be recorded.
Well, that'd be good, you know, because this mean AP score, I don't know, is too good or bad. 3.3, is that good or bad? I don't know what scale all these numbers are.
Yeah,
Right.
that's on the 4 scale, that's fine.
That's
Right.
on a scale of 4 is good, best.
3 is a
Uh,
good score.
3 is a
Three's
good
a good
score.
Yeah,
score.
3's a B.
Five is
Right.
AP.
3 is average.
Right.
US history, we didn't do too good. You know,
I think that was the first time they had it, you know, they just,
So, yeah.
Bonnie, the AP ones are hard because the students are checked out by the time they take the test and they're already in college.
I know.
Some of them,
Okay.
unfortunately, and some of the kids take the class to have it on their resume.
Right.
And then, I mean, I had a student or one of my advisees who wrote all about superheroes on his US history AP exam. And he went on to Stanford and was one
Yep.
hell of a football player.
Yeah.
So anyways, so unfortunately, those are hard to really
Right.
gauge. But I would look at the map testing and some of those, is that what it was? Some of those other ones that are,
Mm.
Nationwide, and those would be the ones that would be more interesting.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going over?
Yeah.
At the big meeting?
Yeah.
What is it? The map, and what's the other one?
The SAS, which is the state assessment system,
Right.
they're going on with that as well.
Yep. And we've got here the SATs. I don't know if these probably are on 100 max, and I almost need a chart. I need a chart to,
Yeah. But those are also high school stuff, and we were talking elementary.
yeah.
And that's what, those are high school tests. And we're looking at elementary on whether or not, we are going to have, but whether or not we feel there should be a full
Right.
2 classes per. To me, it looks like, again, there'd be a little bit more information needed. I don't know how, what information do we want? I know we want to see the testing. We feel that's important. Again, to have small class sizes, hey, it's worth it if they're doing well. I agree with Robert. So. Is there any other information we feel we'd like to have on that? Are there any other questions? Of course, you have till Sunday to send them to me. So.
Well, we can talk real briefly about middle school if you want to, but
Sure.
I think I didn't create a separate chart, but middle school, we have the 6th grade is organized just like K through 5. We have 2 teachers full-time in the classroom. And then we have, I think, 4 full-time teachers for 7 and 8, but they're specialty based. So they switch from classroom to classroom by the look of it. So they, the science teacher probably teaches the same kids from 7th and 8th grade and the other 3 subjects. And then the rest of that gets filled in from the group from the high school grid that we have. So we're looking at about the same ratio, but a little bit different organization as the elementary school. And the middle school requirements look like they get a little more tricky. They have separate certifications, I would think. And Judith was nice enough to mention about how the elementary school certifications work. How do the middle school certifications work? Muted.
The middle schools differ. They sometimes have a 5 through 9 cert or a 7 through 12 cert. So, depending on what they went to school for, some of them are, some of them are a little bit different. But both of those are multi-grade certs, like 5 through 9 or 7 through 12.
So if you're a 7 through 12 cert, are you certed in only sciences or are you certed in everything?
Yeah, science or math, whatever one you're looking at.
And there's 4
content area.
Would you say the 4 science, math, English, and social studies are those all separate certifications and what you're expected to cover?
Yeah, those are those are separate.
What's a 5?
What are the education requirements for the substitute teachers? And are they different for each one of those grades?
No, they don't have any certification. They do not need a 4-year degree to be a substitute.
There's,
No requirement?
4 years, no, not for sub. According to the state, there isn't any.
Substitute's just a high school education, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you don't even need any college.
It does sound like if we needed an extra science teacher in high school, the same person could teach middle school and high school.
Mhm.
Or 1 or 2 classes. If they were getting to the point of trying to compress down the number of teachers and still do an excellent job and meet all the requirements.
What if, this is another revolutionary idea, or maybe not. What if we, in the elementary school, we'd have six teachers, 1 teacher for each class, and we have the 3 extras. Let's just say I'm proposing, and they could be the substitutes. What if we had 3 teachers that are full-time substitutes and or as needed, wherever they're needed? How many substitutes do we need? And I mean, would that work? You'd have a real qualified person, and you'd certainly have somebody on staff that could, if the teacher went out on maternity leave or something, you'd have a qualified person all there on staff. I'm just wondering how many subs.
You wouldn't save any money because you'd have to pay those 3 people the whole amount of money.
Do you think it would be a lot more?
It'd be the same as being a teacher.
How much do you spend on subs?
I don't know what a daily, what is a daily rate, Deb?
It's currently $90 a day.
So about what is, I didn't look, but what is in the budget for subs? Let's say, get rid of the sub budget and you have a couple extras hanging around. And there could be a day that you need 3 of them. Oh dear, we got 2. I just wondered.
Bonnie, you're saying go from 12 teachers down to 9 teachers and get rid of the sub factor.
Yes.
That's going to be a lot less because we only teach 185 days a year, and you're talking $90 a day. That isn't even $18,000. That's by half of what a teacher makes, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know. It's just something to think about. And maybe they could be fairly qualified substitutes, maybe not full board teachers, but very qualified substitutes. I don't know. It's just a thought that, we could put them to use and we'd have maybe good qualified coverage. I don't know how much of the cost differential is.
Yeah, I mean, a sub, just a sub that comes in periodically, not what we would call a long-term sub, but what you're proposing as a full-term sub is the $90 a day. Anyone that is considered a full-time sub, first of all, they're subject to like New Hampshire retirement. There's different rules from New Hampshire retirement. And we do require a certified teacher and we pay them based on the teacher's contract. So it's much more than $90 a day. But anyway,
But you get, and what I'm saying, there may be money in that substitute budget to offset these extras that we would have that could be used in very flexible ways.
well, what you're suggesting, Bonnie, is just keeping 3 out of 6 teachers on full-time as they normally would be, as it is now, eliminating 3 and eliminating the budget. So it's still a total, it's a significant reduction in cost.
Yeah, it's
But,
got to be a saving.
You gotta look at logistics of that. I don't know how that would work.
I don't know.
I would not,
Well,
I don't think of
I think
myself.
we have enough teachers to get the job done, even if we recommend cutting a couple, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
And I know we can count on the principals and the administration to make sure we have a qualified person in there every time. So there's always somebody to throw out the first pitch.
Yep. All right.
So Tucker, that was really all that I had in terms of, the staffing needs, and I don't know where you want to take it, whether you want to look at the stipends or the added payments or things at all.
I know that there was some interest in the stipends from other people on the committee. And whether or not those are part of their job descriptions, but I think we'd have to have job descriptions to do that. Does that make sense to what, I mean, from what I've heard from other people that were looking at the stipends?
Yeah, we would certainly need that because there are certain stipends that kind of sound like they are part of somebody's job, but they're broken out as a separate stipend. At least that's the way I interpreted some of the things that I saw. So I think that's an important thing in making that evaluation.
I mean, there's stipends. I'm looking at page 30 of the first packet that was sent to us. And it says stipend payments 2019 and 20 year. And it says, for example, total co-curricular $48,387.
Yeah,
You see a lot of familiar names in the
Yep.
left column. And I mean, thank God this woman, what's her name? Deb O'Connor was there to be the game operator on the clock. Because, we never would have, they'd still be playing. So,
Well, yeah, I think we need to see if, it's all,
and I assume they're asking for the same amount of money this year. Is that what you're doing, Deb, or?
But
in
the
budget?
stipend, well, we will send you the teachers' collective bargaining agreement. It's a public document. It's also on the New Hampshire Public Employers Labor
Mhm.
Site. So you can get it off of there, but we can also send you that. But the co-curriculars, all those amounts that you see there are from the teacher's contract, again, that we can send you.
Yeah. The one thing that really made this pop out to me was when I was
Perusing it, I noticed that an assistant principal was getting a stipend to do data analytics, which I would think would be part of an assistant principal's job, is to look at the data that supports the school programs. So that prompted me to want to look at everything.
Yeah, and some of those were like, again, with some of them, we got some grant money for to do some extra stuff, so.
So Deb, these are actuals from last year, right?
Yeah, and then I gave you year to date.
Oh, and then year to date, and then
everything's included.
and when you have something, a question I had was on these retirement stipends. Those are one-time payments, is that right?
Yeah, again, that is in the teacher's contract. So when you have a teacher retire, depending on their years of service, they get a certain amount.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a transitional, whatever. But it is the only thing that would show up there in next year's actual spending are teachers that retire next year, or maybe retired at the end of this year. These names won't be there the next time. Is that right?
Oh, for those? Oh, no, because they usually only retire once. Yeah.
and, when I'm seeing, we're paying $5,250 for somebody to coordinate the substitutes. I can remember when that was part of the assistant principal's job or somebody.
I don't see how that couldn't be somebody included.
What's that?
I don't see how that couldn't be included.
Right.
In a normal job, coordinating substitutes.
Yeah.
The problem I had with this, Rob, is a lot of the things I think are done during the day. I don't think they're done at home or extra. I may be wrong, but if you look at some of the things.
all I can say is I see enough to want to look deeper. So I understand where you're coming from, John, and I agree with you there.
Or we hire somebody to do a bunch of these and take the stipends away and give it to one employee.
Yeah, a lot of schools use as far as substitutes, and we've looked at this before, it's more expensive, but there's substitute companies or whatever. You can hire them to do your subs. But we thought it was more cost effective to have that in-house. Plus, if someone in the middle of the day needs a sub or someone to cover their class, we have someone here in the school. So, I mean, there's many reasons why we do it in-house, but.
Yeah, my expectation is that it would be done in-house, but wouldn't require a separate stipend. It's just part of a normal job description of an administrator. How did that get divided out to not be a normal job? I mean, you constantly have this scenario coming up. How is it not someone's normal work activity?
Part of it, Rob, I think personally, and I may be wrong, I could be corrected, is that Mr. Nelson, Mrs. Willie, and Mr. Weaver took on all of these things probably for nothing. And then when they left, they all became stipends. That's just an assumption, may be wrong, but it does seem like there's an awful lot of stipends.
And I think that was the case under that management program. I remember Mr. Weaver worried an awful lot, about getting a substitute, making phone calls. I remember somebody was worried about bus drivers, as part of their job. I remember the day when staff, took on these duties as part of their job, and we didn't have all these extra job titles here. And and some of these tasks I don't think would overburden the current staff. Somebody probably would take time while they're supervising a study hall or something to work on something. No, seriously, the days of volunteerism are gone. That's how things used to be done. People just raise their hand and, oh, I'll be the team leader. Yeah, I'd be on it.
Redesigning a job and re-engineering a job design are not gone. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, but the class advisors and all of those extra duties, teachers all signed up, and you divvied up all these extra little tasks.
Is a lot of this from the bargaining agreements, Deb or Judith?
Well,
Is that-
that particular stipend position has been in place for over 10 years. It paid.
Maybe that's too long.
Mrs. Willie was one of the ones that did get paid for it. And it's gone on since then. So it's always been a paid position.
Well, this seems to have been a rubber stamp process for a long time too, but that seems to be over now too. So because something has occurred for 10 years is not ever an answer that I'm ever gonna go and just say, sure, that's okay.
I know that areas that I've been, instead of stipends, and again, but it kills us on the other end, they end up losing, they don't have, because it takes their free period, they get an extra free period, which takes them out of a classroom. So again, those are some of the, I know, agreements and bargaining agreements that have happened. Right or wrong, I just know that those things have happened, and that's how it's worked.
Theoretically, when they negotiated this out, they did this instead of asking for more money in general and splitting it up. So that's just what they negotiated for. I don't know who will do the next one, but it's something that they can take into account. I think as a budget committee, we got to work with the agreements that are in place. We're certainly not going to be able to.
And we need to see those agreements.
so we know exactly what they are.
I sat on the negotiations when I was on the board, and we never talked about any stipends. We just talked about salaries and increases. I'm sure they are in the some contracts, but not all. But it was never on the table. It was just how much money or what percentage they were going to get.
Yeah, I don't think it affects the work there, but I know as many elementary school sports teams that I coached and as many classrooms as I sat in and all that, to see a parent's name on here with getting a stipend doesn't quite fit right for me.
Yeah,
But I mean,
The crazy thing
I got a
is-
couple of nice trophies that the parents of the other kids went and bought me along with a hiking book or something like that. And that was I really appreciated that. So, but anyway, that's
yeah, no, and you're right, Jerry. You use some of these extra tasks, especially the sports and some of these things. They were parents, and I don't know if something changed in the law, that you can't have volunteers, the liability of it. I don't know why or what, or all parents are too busy, but yeah, a lot of these tasks, and most of these are employees that are getting another 5,000 a year or 2,000, 1,000, whatever it is, on top of their salary. When you kind of wonder if there wasn't time. If you look at this high school chart, there's plenty of time. Look at all those boxes that are blank. There's almost every single person, 1, 2, 3, 4 blank boxes with nothing in them. So to me, there's enough staff and time and everything to get these tasks done. Seriously, they're 1, 2, and I don't know if there's a standard nowadays, but for, they're teaching not half of the time, but slightly over it. And the rest of the time they're free.
One of the things I noticed when looking at those schedules, and this is going back to when I was on the board, if you took away their prep period, took away their study hall, took away their lunch, most of the teachers would be part-time. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah, no, that's the point I'm making. At 1, 2, 3, 4, they have 4 classes off a day. And they teach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A third of the time they're not teaching. And all that prep work and everything used to be done after hours. I don't know the percentage of teachers that correct papers after hours nowadays, probably not high. But they have enough time in the day, to take on a few little extra tasks. And or that demonstrates we could get by with fewer teachers. Every 3, say, we could save 1. With all this free time on the chart, certainly indicates that we might not be making maximum utilization of the talents we have here.
Well, it looks like we have an interest as a group to look into reducing the salaries or the number of teachers per student. I guess we have to figure out what information we would like to have. And we have a lot of information already. I think we need to know what information we'd like to have so that we can back up our recommendation. Unless you feel, I don't feel like there's enough yet. I guess my thing would be, what questions do we want to ask of the administration, of the superintendent? What questions do we have so that we can look at this more in depth. We're throwing a lot out there. I think it's great. I think it is. We've looked at a lot of great information, but now we have to really get to the nitty gritty and say, what do we want to see? I don't know if you guys all want to send that to me and I'll put it in a document and send it off to Judy, or what you think? But I think we're at that point where we need to really get to the nitty gritty and make this, it's a lot of talk.
It's simply a matter of, I would like to see the job description of the person getting the stipend and what the stipend is paying for, to see if the description of the work and the stipend fits with the job description of the person and whether or not the stipend is reasonable for it. If not, then we think it should be, then it's a matter of redesigning somebody's job to pick up that particular workload.
Are there,
Or maybe it might be completely justified, and I'm sure we're going to find it is in many, many circumstances. So it's a matter of
I was going to say,
descriptions and stipend work descriptions.
all right. So job descriptions of the stipends.
And the people performing.
Is that everyone, Robert?
Yeah.
Is that everyone that you want to see? Or are there certain ones we can eliminate, as in coaching, which we know happens afterwards?
I just think it's best to be thorough and look at everything.
Okay. Job descriptions, all right.
But
So that's what the stipend.
That's their regular job description for, what the position they were hired, and the description of the work to be accomplished under the stipend.
Right.
And I would like to hear from Judy. She said that they're looking at it, streamlining and perhaps some efficiencies. I would like to hear her input, her suggestion. If she was given this task of, okay, we've got to cut something, what she would suggest, and that certainly would give us some insight. And it would be looked at from an educational point of view, not just the financial point of view. I would like to hear whether it's 3 or 6 or 5 or 7 or whatever number that the professionals would suggest is an acceptable streamlining proposal.
I don't want to answer for you, Judy, but I think you guys are just starting that, correct? Yep. I think you're still muted, Judy.
What the budget that we put forward is a budget that we believe we should have, that is needed. And we do look at that every year. We look at the staff, we look at how we can, move people around, who's certified in what, and how can we, what does that look like? What's the schedule going to look like? And that type of thing. And so right now, the budget that you're seeing is the budget that the administration is looking into, is looking at. Will we look into other things? Yes, because, down the road, we're going to have to, make some moves. But right now, this is the budget that we're looking at for next year.
We're at the 8 o'clock hour. Dare we close up with you guys sending me questions or things that you would like to see addressed towards this topic? And we can.
That sounds good, Tucker.
Yeah, because the other thing we had was the boiler, and we're not going to get very there. Once again, a big topic starting late. We're not going to. And you kind of.
Well, we're going to hear from somebody on Tuesday on the boiler. Is that right?
Yeah, that was so in the agenda I put out, I was wondering if we could all. Now they went over the boiler tonight. Is that correct, Judy?
We didn't have a meeting tonight. The boiler is, are you talking about the elementary? The project? Okay, that's going to be discussed at the February 3rd meeting with the engineer.
There was one last night. Is that correct, though, that was discussed?
We had a board meeting last night. They voted to move forward with the boiler project.
Okay, so
As a
come
warrant
part, is that a separate warrant article?
Yes,
It's
as a
not
warrant
part of the
article.
budget.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
in a way, we can defer to that because regardless of whether we recommend or not, it's kind of separate from
Right.
what we recommend for the tax warrant or whatever.
No, we rule in on warrants also.
Right, I understand that.
We do.
Yeah, you make your recommendation in each warrant.
Yeah,
but
we make
it
our
is-
recommendation. And I would like to hear from Wayne Fillion. I'd like him to present to our board on the projects that, and I imagine we're going to hear about a roof and we're going to hear about some flooring. And so I would like to hear from somebody, some expert as to what the projects are and what's being proposed to do this particular year. I know last year we discussed, the proposal was in all the administration offices and some of us thought that, well, maybe we should do some of the educational, the classrooms first. I mean, it was a multi-year program. I think we're getting towards the end of it, so obviously there's some incentive to finish it. But, I think I'm being a bit conservative because of that bigger picture. And I personally want to have a discussion one of these nights about moving the superintendent's office back on campus. I'm wondering whether we need to heat and maintain and everything, as much space as we have. It was designed for more children. I mean, I know you don't want to cramp them all into a small space, but there may be, I don't want to be putting a roof on something that we're going, or putting carpet down on something that we're going to feel that we don't need or isn't part of the capital improvement plan or the master plan, and we're not going to be even using that space in 2 years. I want to be spending our money on things that we know are going to be part of the program for the long term and not just, and if we're looking at other schools around us and trying to economize that way, or if we're looking at other SAUs around us and trying to economize that way, we may have space that we can attract others to join us, or we may have space that we shut down because we're doing some of our things remotely. I don't know. And that's kind of where I'm coming from.
That's that, and I don't know how we get through that, and I understand that. Now, you said Wayne Fillion?
I think he's the boiler heating, HVAC, heating, boiling, ventilation. every other-
He's the engineer that designed the project.
Yes.
So
I'd
he
like-
will be speaking on the 3rd for that hearing. So that's when you will be able to listen to him. He did it last year. And
I think you can ask for him sooner than that. I don't see any reason.
Well, if we, the only chance we get to hear it is on the 3rd, that means we have to meet after that board hearing and adopt our budget, deliberate on what we heard and what we think, and not finish our budget until the night of the 3rd. We won't have all of our information. We won't have a recommendation on what we think about it until we hear from Wayne. So that means the 3rd is going to be a very busy night. It'll be a real workshop, but which is okay. Which is okay if you can only come the one time, which is okay. We'll wait on that until we've heard what he has to say.
Let's ask him. Maybe a good dry run in front of us first would do him some good.
Maybe.
Never any harm in asking.
Maybe.
Now, so again, trying to finish up here. Send me your questions about the salaries. or teacher, whatever, however you want to put it, teacher-student ratios, your thoughts and questions so that we can get to a recommendation or get some background behind what we feel as a board to do. And again, get those Sunday night, and I'll send them off to you, Judith. And you can send whatever your thoughts, or maybe there's an expert or somewhere else that, you know, we can have speak.
Mhm.
There was one thing, Judith, you sent out that contract about all the fields. And I know that some people had some interest in that. I didn't know if anybody, we wanted to spend some time on that coming up. Because you sent out all that contractual information.
Yeah.
Is that, didn't I see that?
Yes, yeah.
So we've got the, I just want to know if anybody has any interest or if they've seen that and they want to keep going. Yep, go ahead, Bonnie, you want to?
I think there's interest, and I don't know, I'm just wondering if, like, Joe and Mike, or John and Mike, or John and Joe, or whatever, I mean, those guys, that know more about construction and groundskeeping and all that business, whether 2 or 3 of those guys would like to look at it, work on it, and make a recommendation to the rest of us, to me, who doesn't know as much about it, as to what is the best way to go with the fields. We heard about, oh dear, if we had spent all the money, it would have been, whoop. I got an echo. I'll stop talking.
There we go. I'll be sending some questions to Tucker, Bonnie,
All right,
before Sunday, and then we can have a discussion about it.
all right.
That's perfect. That's what I was going to say. Send some, you know, that's what I'm saying. There was a lot of information sent to us, so I didn't want that to just go by without being forgotten about, because I know there was some questions about it. So thanks, Mike. Send me some questions. We'll send it on to Judith, and we'll go from there. Is there anything else anybody else feels we need to bring before the board tonight? I mean, sorry, the committee tonight? With that, is there any buddy wanting to end?
Motion
this
to
session?
adjourn?
Yep. Anybody want a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, excellent. We're going to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn?
Hi,
Hi.
And hi, Joseph, I see you're on.
hi,
Yeah.
Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, sorry, I was late. Faith has been really, really sick, so things have been a little hectic.
Oh, she all right?
Yeah, she's gaining, but
Yeah.
things have been a little hectic around here, so I apologize.
No
No,
worries. I hope everybody's okay.
Thank you very much. We're
Fingers
gaining.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. All right, with that, we'll adjourn for the evening. Please send your questions. If there's anything we missed, I'll compile something Sunday night for you, Judith, and Debbie, or whoever. And thanks, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Right.